So I want you guys to understand how strong this Titan build is, because it's pretty OP based on what it can do. Now I took off all of the artifact mods and only had the few anti-champion ones on for some weapons, so no seasonal artifact mods are affecting what you're watching, and this build can clear entire rooms with our melee ability alone, and we always have it available to use on repeat one after the other. You'll see me throw out 5 or 6 in a row at times. The ability generation for that melee ability only comes from one single aspect, and that's really important because this means it allows our fragments to be geared more towards damage and survivability. This also allows our exotic weapon and our exotic armor choice to be whatever we desire, and that's where this build truly shines. I tested out Icefall Mantle, Heart of Inmost Light, Synthoceps, Worm God's Caress, and a few other exotics, like the feedback fences. You can quite literally play this build with any of those if you prefer one over the other. Same thing with the weapons. The Icebreaker exotic goes great with it, with the instant ignition on frozen enemies. Dead Messenger felt really good as well. Basically any weapon that can shatter the 2 rows of crystals for us in a shot or 2. And the reason it all works so well is because of the changes Bungie made and how each of them just benefit off of each other to create the stasis consecration slam that you're seeing in this video. The big changes comes to our 2 aspects. So what they did to Howl of the Storm is they allowed it to grant an additional melee charge, which is just awesome, so 2 melees out the gate, but they also changed the crystal formation and added extra crystals, and this is a big deal. It now generates a total of 8 crystals in front of us in those 2 waves of ice crystals, and the reason this is really important is because that's 8 stasis shards we can create from those crystals alone. And that pairs right into our next aspect, which is Tectonic Harvest. Shattering those stasis crystals or even frozen targets creates stasis shards. Now they removed the cooldown generation of stasis shards. There is no cooldown, which means as long as you're creating crystals or freezing targets and destroying all of it, you can create an infinite amount of stasis shards. And with Tectonic Harvest, those shards you create grant melee energy when picked up by you or your allies. And then on top of that, while we have this aspect on, picking up those stasis shards grants us stacks of frost armor. And this plays into our glacier grenade as well. Our grenade creates that wall of stasis crystals, so we can shatter that wall and the frozen targets to play right into Tectonic Harvest. So you have 2 melee charges and the 1 grenade. So if we can keep these 2 up all the time, we're sitting very good. And we keep up Howl of the Storm melee alone by Tectonic Harvest because we get that melee energy when picking up shards. So we don't need to further add anything to our melee ability regen, which is awesome. That's where the fragments come into play. Whisper of Shards is shattering stasis crystals boost our grenade recharge rate. You're gonna have this up at 10 seconds pretty much all the time. It's a 500% increased grenade recharge rate for that glacier grenade. And this is kind of like our get out of jail free card, right? Let's say for whatever reason you don't have the Howl of the Storm melees available, which you really shouldn't, you then just throw your glacier grenade. You should be adding that in between all of these melees. I needed to do a better job of that myself. So we have an infinite melee and an infinite grenade, thanks to that 1 fragment. Next we'll add in Whisper of Fissures. Increase the damage and size of the burst of stasis when we destroy those crystals or frozen targets. Again, we have so many crystals and frozen targets, we're just creating big pops with this fragment. We'll add in Whisper of Rime. This increases the maximum number of frost armor stacks to 8 and its duration to 13 seconds. The reason this one's important is because it gives us a constant 50% damage reduction all the time. You will always be picking up shards, and that's where we add in Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position. This also gives us a +10 health and super, but now we don't even have to pick up those shards, they'll just auto-track to us within 15 meters. It's a pretty big radius. So those stasis shards are giving you 50% infinite damage reduction. They're refilling your melees back infinitely for you as well. Also, if you guys didn't know this, stasis shards heal you for about 5 or 10 HP per shard. Since this is on no cooldown now, you just have constant healing coming back with a constant 50% damage reduction. I can't stress how good that combo is. And this allows us to use any exotic or exotic weapon, as I mentioned earlier with the build. Now I tested a lot, and I will say that damage is your best choice here. That's either Synthoceps or Worm God's Caress. Both of them worked very well. The gameplay you're watching is with Synthoceps, but I also really liked Worm Gods, because Worm Gods also gives you that added weapon damage if you're getting kills with your melee, which with this build you should be doing. Synthoceps is kind of like a little more safer option, but they both worked perfectly great, and I think you can't go wrong with either one of them. But I do suggest you take damage in this slot over utility because the subclass provides all the utility we need. As far as your weapon, again, I really enjoyed Slayer's Fang as well. I liked the purple. I liked adding Void Overshields to the build as well on top of my Stasis armor. And I may or may not have Icebreaker, so I technically couldn't play with it, but I can make a whole nother video on that alone. Now our mods actually do quite a bit for us here, so make sure to pay attention to these, because it's just going to smooth out your gameplay. For stats on the build, I only had 100 melee and around 100 super. Then I pushed my grenade and my weapons up. My grenade was close to 90, and I think my weapons were about 70. I wanted whatever weapon I choose to still hit hard. I wanted to get that melee back quickly. I want my super back quickly because you can use Howl of the Storm in your super, and it still gets the benefit added damage of any exotic that you're using, so it's really good. We want to cycle that super back very quickly. So I added a lot of font mods to the build as well. I have a super font, melee fonts, weapon fonts, to push all of this up into like a stat stacking build. So on the helmet, you'll take that super font. So I had around 140 super total in the gameplay to make that super hit even harder, paired with the extra damage from Synthoceps or Worm Gods. You'll take a hands-on the helmet for extra super energy coming back. On the gauntlets, I had 2 melee fonts, so that pushed my melee up to about 140 or 150, so it was hitting 15% harder. Again, that's in your super as well. And then a heavy-handed just to spawn an orb of power from those melee kills. On the chest piece, it was straight damage reduction. On the boots, I added 2 weapon fonts. This pushed my weapons up over 100, makes the weapons hit a little bit harder, and I had a chance to spawn some extra ammo. Also on the boots, we take an elemental charge. Collecting stasis shards has an escalating chance to give you an armor charge. As you can see in the video, you're always charged with armor because you're creating so many stasis shards. This is proccing all the time, which means on my class item, I could run Special Finisher. I could generate special ammo for me and my fire team by finishing an enemy, and this just helps keep that special ammo topped off in whatever special weapon I'm using to blow all my crystals up. I added in a time dilation to make the armor charges last a bit longer. You could probably trade this out, and also a Reaper mod. Again, you could probably trade this one out as well. Class item didn't have very many options that I wanted to add in because I just wasn't using my class ability. So again, for stats on the build, push that melee up, super up, then try to get that grenade up as well. Those are the 3 I would aim for if I had to choose. I hope you guys give this build a try. It's a very fun way to play the game. It will dominate any content you try it in, I promise you that. And I'm pretty sure Bungie is lowering the difficulty floor. So minus 30 content is what you're gonna see pretty much all the time now, which is why my last couple of videos haven't been in negative 50 content. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.